miles and running back.
Self-encounter show. Self-encounter show. Self-encounter show. We go on and on and on. Come and vibe and chill as we grow. Come and vibe and chill as we grow. Come and vibe and chill as we grow. As we grow. Self-encounter show, yeah. Uh-oh. You already know what time it is if you hear my voice. That's right. It's podcast time. And on this Friday morning, we will focus on and discuss, you know what I'm saying? It's called BHG. I don't know if you heard me. It's called BHG. And it stands for Boundaries, Healing, and Growth. I'll take it slow until I'm where I wanna be. Yes, that's what it stands for. Boundaries, Healing, and Growth. So before we start, let me read the definition from Old Reliable. And if you know, then you know. Old Reliable is Google. Okay? If you don't know something, I bet you Google know. That's all you gotta do. Go to Google. But anyways, boundaries is a line that marks the limits of an area. But for this episode, we will be covering personal boundaries, in which a personal boundary is the limits and rules we set for ourselves with other people. While healing, on the other hand, is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. And you know what I'm saying, that healing, yes sir, okay, you got to heal. But anyways, we're not gonna get off track. The beginning of the show. So growth is the process of increasing in physical size. But just like boundaries, we will be focusing on personal growth. So for personal growth, it refers to the self-improvement of your skills, knowledge, personal qualities, life goals, and outlook. Now that we have that information, I've decided to break this down into 3 segments. That way we can focus on each word one by one instead of jumping all over the place in this episode. And y'all want to hear the good news? So I have 2 special guests to help me cover this topic. That way we can see it from different perspectives, you know what I'm saying? Because if I just told my perspective, that's not enough, in my opinion. We need more people so we can look at it from a different point of view. So to start us off, I'm going to give y'all a little background. You know what I'm saying? I asked them to introduce themselves for us, to us, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to hear a little something about them. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right into that now. You know what I'm saying? Not later, but now.
My name is Michaela Morris. Preferably go by KK. But, Michaela, KK, whichever works. I'm 24 years old. Aries. From Georgetown, South Carolina. If you know Charleston, if you know Myrtle Beach, I'm right in the middle. Georgetown, South Carolina. I went to Coastal Carolina University for undergrad, got my bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies, focusing in higher education with a minor in English. I found a love for just higher education and student affairs. Went on to the University of South Carolina to continue those passions and got my master's in higher education and student affairs at the University of South Carolina. I currently work at the University of Central Florida in fraternity and sorority life. And yeah, I'm a sister. I'm a godmom. That's been the most exciting thing. This most exciting experience about myself as far as I'm a godmom. I'm a writer. I love to write. Communicator. I love talking to people, building connections, and connecting. I'm a connector. What else? I love to sing. Music and song is probably one of my favorite ways to express myself. I'm starting to get back into reading, so I found some books that I want to get into, and so my goal is to read more, especially with this upcoming year. To read more, to expand my mind, and then to also put out knowledge. Yeah, I'm a forever learner. I love to learn, and I like to engage others with the new knowledge. Yeah, that's me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ski. You know what I'm saying? My dog KK done stopped by to help out with the episode. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you, big homie. Not the little one, but the big one. The big stepper. I'm not going to run out. But anyways, You said you found some books, friend, and I know this is off topic, but what book that is? Cause if you reading it, then I feel like I need to be reading it too. Cause you be reading some good stuff. I ain't about to lie to you. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the next guest. Next guest, go ahead and introduce yourself for me and our wonderful listeners.
Well, hello there. I am Ashanti Brown, and I am delighted to be featured on this episode. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a 2017 graduate of the Coastal Carolina University, and I'm just excited to be here with my good friend on this episode.
Hey, not my dog though. Shanti, what's poppin', fool? But nah, for real though, I really do appreciate you for coming by to help me discuss this topic. You know what I'm saying? Actually, both of y'all. I'm so glad both of y'all came by because when I was listening to y'all response to my questions, I was like, oh yeah, this finna be a good one. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with personal boundaries first. Now, there's a lot of personal boundary types, but of course, I'll just read off a few. So there's physical, emotional, mental, time, and intellectual. And then we have unhealthy versus healthy boundaries. And you already know I did my little research. So according to my findings, unhealthy boundaries are caused from people having a high level of neediness, also known as codependency. What is codependency, you ask? Have no fear. Nisha's here. Codependency is a psychological condition or a relationship in which a person manifesting low self-esteem and a strong desire for approval has an unhealthy attachment to another, often controlling, let me say that again, controlling or manipulative person, while healthy boundaries are created to protect ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally from being used or violated by others. With that being said, it's question time, because y'all know the episode wouldn't be an episode if I ain't asked no questions. I like to peek into people's minds and see the way they think about these stuff. That's real life. Like, this is real life stuff that I'm talking about. So I want to see how they look at it and the way they analyze the problem and the situation. So the first question I asked them was to reflect on the past and compare it to where you are now after starting this process. And if you haven't started, state why you want to start this process. All right, we're going to start with KK. And she said,
Healing is it's so funny to conceptualize. Like, it's a beautiful, yet bumpy and rough. Like, it's just something that just takes you through so many different stages and phases that even in the process, sometimes that process is bumpier than the traumatic situation that even led to healing. Like, so this says to reflect and compare. And so when I'm reflecting, oh my God, there are so many different things, relationships, home environment, just life experiences that were just hard. It was just rough. And I think through a lot of those things, it was easy to say, well, this person did this to me, or this person did this to me, and that's why I'm like this, or my mom did this, and my dad wasn't around, so I am now this. And it's so easy to place blame of my behaviors on the relationship that I had with other people or the lack thereof, the love that they showed me or the lack thereof. And so through healing, I was able to realize that life is going to happen, and people are going to people, and as people are doing them, the most important role that I can play in my life is to understand why I am the way that I am and why I respond to things the way that I respond to things, what triggers my response, and what haven't I healed from that's causing me to treat this person in this way or to have this reaction to this person. And I realized that once I had a better understanding of myself and why I was responding to people in certain ways that I was, or doing things that I wasn't truly happy with, or in a career field where I wasn't necessarily my happiest, but I was doing it to get by, or I was in this relationship because I was so terrified to be alone or to feel this feeling of abandonment. Once I realized the things about myself that I wasn't truly happy with, but on the outside I was painting a picture that I was truly happy. Once I realized that I had a lot of things that I needed to heal from, and once I started picking apart those things and investigating and interrogating who I truly was and why I was the way that I was, I started to have a better understanding of other people. And having a better understanding of myself and then understanding of other people gave me this newfound love of grace. And so I gave myself grace and I began to give other people grace. And so when I reflect, the question was reflect on your past and compare it to where you are. So before, I used to place blame. That's what I started with. I used to place blame and I excused my behaviors because other people made me the way that I am. But now I realize that although other people had factors or they were around, that I am totally in control of my life. And I'm in control of how I allow people to continue to play certain roles in my life. And so with grace, I learned to extend grace, but I learned self-respect. And I didn't allow certain things anymore. It made me have conversations where love was at the foundation. And if I didn't like the way someone was treating me or the way something is happening, this is where I currently am. It's when I'm not pleased with something, I don't have a trauma response. I don't respond to things out of trauma or I'm not hurt. I'm just like, dang, you said this to me or you did this to me because of this. And either I can make the decision to allow you to continue that, or I can have a conversation with you so that you can understand how this has affected me. And either you grow from this and you do better, or you don't. And so then in me recognizing who I am and learning self-respect, and through grace, I can say, I gave you an opportunity, and when you choose to be better, I think this relationship can continue to grow. And I think that we can continue to grow as individuals, that can continue to grow as individuals with some sort of relationship as people. So this has gotten long, but in my reflection, I've realized that in my healing, I've realized that me ever evolving and me choosing to have grace and love at the foundation of everything that I do and in the way that I interact with other people, I'm not as bitter. I'm not as mad. I'm not as upset. And I realize that healing will be forever because people are going to continue to come in my life. There are going to be continuous things that happen, and I need to just continue to understand myself and continue to work on myself and understand how certain behaviors impact me and other people. I got to continue to heal myself so that I can allow other people.
Man, you broke that question down so good. I'm over here speechless. Like, I don't have no remarks because you said some of the realest stuff just now. And you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and get into the next question because I'm still pondering on everything that you just said. Like, that John crazy. Like, mind boggling for real, for real. Like, but, anyways, the next question was if you have any boundaries set up, what made you create them? So, this time we're going to start with Ashanti. And he said,
Right, so boundaries, right? Um, One boundary that I have set up in my life is the fact that I don't allow people to get next to me. I say that in quotes, right? Air quotes, because I feel like it puts me in a state of vulnerability, and I then find myself, I guess, I find myself with a measure of anxiety because of that vulnerability. It feels like I'm not in control, right? So I've got this wall set up, whereas I only allow people to get as close to me as I want them to be. Simply for the fact, I mean, you you can't really, you can't guess people. You don't always know their motives. You don't always know their intentions. So putting that boundary up, having that wall there, it's a defense mechanism to help me protect me in a sense, not only from someone else, but also protect me from myself, because I know that I really care about people. And when I do love, I tend to love hard, whether it's in a platonic relationship or even a romantic relationship. So just in order to spare my feelings, to prevent me from experiencing hurt and pain and disappointment, that's why that boundary is set up. I believe boundaries are just important in every aspect of our lives. They could be good or bad, but I feel that it's necessary to have a measure of boundaries because you just don't want to be all open. That's just not good. But it's also a fine line between what those boundaries are and then like just being too bound. You have boundaries, and you in a sense can have yourself bound, whereas you're not open to anything, which that could be a problem. But it's just finding that balance, everything within moderation. It's very important.
Sheesh, we only on the second question. Y'all both just killing me with these responses, but I'm glad though, cause you know what I'm saying. You giving a different insight, and I love it. I love it. So I ain't gonna say too. I'm not gonna say too much. We just gonna listen to them respond to my question, and I'm gonna be quiet. All right. So now we're gonna listen to KK's response to the question.
Next question is boundaries, and I laugh because I started. I don't know if I answered this in the last one, but I started actually committing to healing, probably or like making the conscious decisions of like I need to be better. I need to be a better person, and I need my life to get better. I didn't start going on that journey until 2020, the end of 2020. 2020 was such a terrible year for me. Oh my gosh. But like I said, healing is funny because I needed it to be that terrible. If it didn't get that terrible, I wouldn't be where I am today. So boundaries, I struggle with boundaries. That's why I laughed earlier because boundaries was always a huge struggle for me because, like I said, I'm a person who loves connection. I love talking to people and being around people. And so when you're a person whose cup is filled based off of people, sometimes of that line of when do I need to be around people or when do I need to be talking to people or when do I need to be serving people, sometimes that line is blurred. And so I think the other that's been a beautiful part of healing for me is figuring out when that line needs to be drawn, which is the boundary. And I think for me, because I am in the field of helping and serving people, and I just love being around people, my boundaries are based on the individual, based on the environment, based on the experience. It's based on where I currently am. And so I don't think, or I will necessarily per se have boundaries with a set standard of boundaries. I think just in generally, I think the boundaries are with myself. Yeah. My boundaries are for the self. That's something that I'm realizing. And so as I'm talking through this, I'm realizing, like the boundaries aren't necessarily placed on other people. The boundaries are what am I not tolerating for myself. And so, like I said, I realize that people are going to be certain ways and things are going to happen in certain ways. But it's what will I not tolerate? I won't tolerate lack of peace. So I won't tolerate turmoil. So, for example, I was having conversations with a guy, and I would bring up something of, hey, I don't necessarily like this, and I'm like, I'm a person of, I feel like I should be able to have a conversation about anything, and as people, we should be able to have meaningful conversations about anything, especially things that don't sit well with us. And so, had that conversation, and there was always an argument. And I'm like, in my healing, I realized that I don't want to argue. I don't like arguing. It takes my vibration to a level that I'm not too fond of. I don't like it, and so I won't do it. I genuinely do not argue. I don't allow myself to get to a place where I want to go back and forth with someone. And so I realize with a lot of people, they don't like that. A lot of people don't like where you choose to just not have the conversation because they're at a level in which if you meet them at that level, it's not healthy for you, and so you just choose to never get there. And so my boundary is I will not have this conversation until you're at a place where you're not being manipulative, you're not gaslighting, you're not raising your voice or raising your tone. I just won't do it. I think that's my biggest thing of I need us to constantly as people to be growing and to have conversations like we respect one another. And if I don't see a level of respect, I'm not gonna stay in that environment. It's not. I'm not even a person where I'm just gonna push you out and never speak to you again. Like, where I currently am in life. But yeah, my boundary is respect. And if I don't feel a level of respect, I'm just gonna distance myself until you learn to respect yourself enough so that you can respect everyone. And I think with respect, self-respect comes growth. Because if you're learning to respect yourself, like that's all you're putting out is respect and love. And like I said, love is at the foundation of everything that I do. So yeah, my boundary is respect. Through in creating this and answering this question, um, my boundary is respect. And if I don't feel a level of respect, I'm going to have to distance myself until respect is felt. Because I think we can always grow, we can always be better, but like you have to be committed to that. And if there's no commitment to the respect and to the growth, then you're gonna stay where you are. And I think when we talk about healing, I think we all understand that healing is the total opposite of staying where you currently are. And so my boundary is respect, and I just my hope and my goal is for everyone to be committed to growth. And so if there's no commitment to growth, if there's no commitment to understanding other people and respect, then there's a boundary.
And on that wonderful note, or maybe I should be like, and on that wonderful note, anyways, we do. Let me stop playing. We do whatever we want on the Self Encounter show, so I'm leaving y'all on a cliffhanger. Yep, I said it. We gonna end it on a cliffhanger. But just know part 2 is coming soon, real soon. It's coming on the day y'all least expect it. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, in between time, y'all already know the routine. We don't work hard on Fridays, but definitely make today a great one.